You hear them in New York chanting it, Kayuba, Kayuba. They're
I have some
celebrating.
stuff to show you from New York, actually. Tell me if any of this looks familiar. This is the past week. So the first one, guys, let's do SOT number 2. Take a look at this one.
Kill another soldier now! Al-Qassam, you make us proud! Al-Qassam, you make us proud! Kill another soldier now! Kill another soldier now! Al-Qassam, you make us proud! Al-Qassam, you make us proud! Kill another soldier now! We will honor Khomeini from the belly of the beast!
All right, now, so those are the Americans. Our version of you guys, because there was a full showdown, right? What ends up happening at this showdown is Americans now stage a protest, okay? So I want to get this 100% right. So there's a protest in New York outside of Gracie Mansion, which is where Mamdani and his wife are living now. That's the mayor of New York. And it's called the Stop Islamic Takeover of New York City, Stop New York City's Public Muslim Prayer. So then, of course, the Muslims show up. I should say the radical Islamists show up. Let me make that clear distinction. And what ends up happening is a couple of kids who are inspired by ISIS make homemade bombs. They get tackled by the police. And here's how the mayor responds to this, okay? So he goes, yesterday, white supremacist Jake Lang organized a protest outside of Gracie Mansion rooted in bigotry and racism. Such hate has no place in New York City. It's an affront to our city values and the unity that defines who we are. What followed was even more disturbing. Now he does call out the violence. Violence at a protest is never acceptable. Like, you could have used stronger language. It's never acceptable. And then he goes, the attempt to use an explosive device and hurt others is not only criminal, it's reprehensible, and it's the antithesis of who we are. And he thanks the NYPD, but he calls the group of Americans who are alarmed white supremacists, despite the fact that he knows as well as anyone does that radical Islam is not a race, it's an ideology. But he doesn't call the group that's inspired by ISIS that tried to kill everybody radical terrorists.
If you read that, you wouldn't know who the bombs were part of. So and the same with the mainstream media. I've read the mainstream media's reporting on this. Now, thank God for Elon Musk, because if we didn't have Elon Musk and X was still controlled by the deep state, then you'd read these headlines and you'd think it was the white Americans who bought an explosive. Because nowhere is it defined in the mainstream media. I saw NSBC, is it? I've seen CNN. They don't define who the bombs are. They don't define they shouted Allah Akbar.
Oh my God, you're absolutely right. It doesn't say that.
No, they don't. So when you read it, now think about let's reverse.
I'm reading it again now.
But reverse 3-4 years, 5 years, yeah? Go back. Now, if we didn't have...
He absolutely does not say that at all. You're right.
Neither did the news.
What followed was even more disturbing. Violence at a protest is never acceptable.
And whose protest is he talking about? White supremacists. So if you don't...
Oh my God, I didn't even notice that, Tommy.
And all the mainstream media. Go and look at the CNN's report. None of them define. So if you just read their media and you didn't have X and you didn't have the platforms or you didn't have discussion shows like this, which remember we didn't have 4 or 5 years ago. Everything was controlled. Republicans were censored. Voices like this, I was invisible. I was deleted from every single social media there is. I was blocked from everything. Yeah. So before Elon Musk bought X, everyone reading this would read it that there was a bomb. It was white supremacists, and it's not acceptable. And the media done the same. So if you're just picking up the headlines, then you're thinking, you don't realise that Allah Akbar has been screamed by a jihadist who has now confirmed, and at the time, that it's for ISIS. Look at Mamdani's response here. Yeah? This is a serious terrorist attack by someone who's declared their loyalty against America, against Americans. And you see the men you've just seen on your screen. This is the warning, yeah? You see those men that you've seen calling for support of the Ayatollah and against America. Well, we had this 20 years ago and they were allowed on the streets and I am very surprised at how vocal they are in the United States of America. They are so...
More to show you.
Yeah, I know.
A lot more.
In mosques. Did you see the imam in the mosque when Mamdani went there? So he goes there, he goes to a mosque and then he steps off the stage. The imam gets up and calls for murder against the infidels.
What?
Yeah. I'll send you this. You can stick it in. So literally, obviously not in our language, but when you translate what he's saying, this is straight after Mamdani, pronouncing it right. That's straight after he's in the mosque. He steps off, the imam gets up and he calls for the obliteration and the murder of the infidels. Straight after.
So we thank you very much for this and we pray daily for your success in this journey, inshallah.
وأسأل الله أن يصلي على محمد وآل محمد وأن يجعلني من المنتظرين لك والتابعين والناصرين لك على أعدائك والمستشهدين بين يديك في جملة أوليائك والفرج فيه للمؤمنين على يديك.
Now, the problem you've got is that the left, just like across Europe, just like they did in Lebanon, just like they did in Iran, the left are siding because many of the left, which, look, it's probably wrong to say the left, it's what now has become of the left. Because 20 years ago, I don't think most people take, whether they take their values, some from the left, some from the right. Yeah? And the left's values have totally changed. They've totally changed what it means to be a supporter of the left. It's now become so separated, so violent, so hostile, so extreme, no room for discussions, no room for a debate. It's just an attack. And we're seeing this, and then the weaponization of these groups who are well funded, whether it be Antifa, and they're literally aligning and paid to cause this sort of animosity, this sort of hostility, this sort of violence, which is what we're seeing. You can't speak anymore. You can't have a discussion anymore. Now, the left used to be for free speech, not anymore. So something has shifted. But what you're seeing in New York, it's just the seed. You're not even seeing. I try to describe it as, this is the trailer for the movie that hasn't started yet. You better brace yourselves, America, because you used to talk. I used to listen to Americans. I used to listen to Americans talk about immigration, and you're on about Hispanic, Mexican. And I used to think, God, give us that, please. Like, you have no idea. Now, your borders, and because of your immigration system and the way that you could get into the United States, you had to be educated, you had to have money, you had to pass all these checks. So you got the best. That's what you used to get. You got the best. So some of the Muslim immigration you've had would be well educated from a financial background, not tribal, not coming from the caves in Afghanistan. Over the last 8 years, your borders have been totally opened, and it's been organised, because so have ours. It's not a mistake. And they've come from Somalia, Pakistan, Iraq, Syria, the worst of the worst. Yeah, the worst of the worst is what your borders have been open to. And the consequences of this, and this isn't fear mongering, and it's not. And again, listen, I'm not saying that every Muslim is a problem. I'm not saying that.
No, and I want to address that. However, if
you don't know who is a problem and you don't know who's not.
Okay, well, and if we were to go back to, let's say, Trump's first term, when he was going to implement a Muslim ban, I was horrified.
And it wasn't a Muslim ban. It wasn't a Muslim ban. He was implementing a ban on countries that do not share intelligence with you, that do not have a stable government. So, for example, if we had that ban in the UK, the same one that he wanted to implement in 2016, or he tried to implement or did implement, then a Libyan in the UK who went to Libya, got bomb training, he blew up 26 kids. That would not have happened if we had that ban. Do you know how many attacks in Europe wouldn't have happened just off that ban? Because what Trump was saying is, which is just logical, it's just the hysteria that the media created and the left created around this. What he's saying is, we need to protect America. Now, we don't share intelligence. We have no database from Libya because the country's fell. It's governed by terrorists. We don't know who's who. Same with Somalia. We don't know who's who. There's no law system. We don't share intelligence. So we don't know who's a terrorist, who's a jihadist. We don't have any shared intelligence. So it's a danger to allow people to go to these countries that have terrorist groups, that are controlled by terrorist groups, which is what happened in the UK. Salman Abedi, who could recite the Quran without looking at it, he's a terrorist in the UK. He went to Libya. He got weapons training and bomb training. He come back and blew up 26 children at an Ariana Grande concert. That would not have happened.
I remember that. Oh, my God. I just didn't
wouldn't
know
have
the
happened.
circumstances around
That wouldn't have happened. So either we care about saving the 26 kids, or we care about a few people's hurt feelings. Immigration to the United States is not right. It's not right. It's for you to choose as a country and to make sure it benefits your country.
If you have a 401k or an IRA, please listen. Gold is at record highs. What many people don't know is this. You can move part of your retirement money legally and without tax penalties into physical gold you actually own. Alpha Omega Gold helps you do this through a gold IRA. Your gold is real. It is stored safely. It is in your name. Learn more at ao.gold/stand. Alpha Omega Gold is our sponsor, and they proudly stand with Israel.